The horizon approached the supposedly dead planet with a small fleet of human ships that had joined their cause. From space, the world looked lifeless, a gray orb with no visible features. "Scanners show nothing down there," Ben reported. "No life signs, no energy readings." "It's hidden," Jack said. He stood on the bridge wearing the chest plate, helmet, and gauntlets. "The armor will reveal it." As they entered orbit, Jack raised his hands. Energy flowed from the gauntlets into the ship's systems. The view screen flickered, and suddenly the image of the planet changed completely. What had appeared dead was actually teeming with life. Lush forests, vast oceans, and at the center of the largest continent, an enormous city. "It was cloaked all this time," Susan said in wonder. "The final armor pieces are there," Jack said. "And so is the truth." When they landed, they found no resistance. The city was empty but perfectly preserved, as if waiting for someone to return. Buildings of strange, flowing architecture rose high into the sky. At the city center stood a massive structure shaped like a dome. "The World Shaper Archive," Drakor whispered. "I never believed I would see it." Inside the dome, they found a vast chamber with a pedestal at its center. On it rested the remaining armor pieces: boots, shield, a weapon that looked like a sword hilt, and a small glowing core. "The complete set," Lisa said, "after all these thousands of years." Jack approached the pedestal. The armor pieces he already wore pulsed eagerly, recognizing their counterparts. But before he could reach them, a voice spoke from all around them. "Identity confirmation required. World Shaper genetic signature detected. Proceed with final authentication." A hologram appeared, a figure in complete armor similar to the pieces Jack wore. The figure removed its helmet, revealing a face that could have been human but seemed somehow more. "I am the Guardian Protocol," the hologram said. "Before the final pieces can be claimed, you must understand what they mean. The power you seek comes with responsibility." "I understand," Jack said. The hologram studied him. "Do you? The World Shapers, your ancestors, were not defeated by force. They were betrayed by their own arrogance. They believed they alone should guide the galaxy's development. That belief led to war." Images appeared around them. Battles between armored figures and alien fleets, worlds burning, civilizations falling. "We did not want this history to repeat," the hologram continued. "The armor was divided and hidden, designed to be found only when humanity had evolved beyond its former mistakes. When humans were ready to stand as equals with other species, not conquerors." Susan stepped forward. "We don't want to conquer. We just want the truth." "And what will you do with that truth?" the hologram asked. "Seek revenge for past wrongs? Start a new war?" "No," Jack said firmly. "The galaxy has changed. Yes, the Council hid our history, but violence won't fix that. We need understanding, not more conflict." The hologram seemed to consider this. "Then prove it. Complete the armor and show me your intention." Jack stepped forward and took the remaining pieces, one by one. He put them on: the boots, the shield, the sword, and finally, the core at the center of the chest plate. When the core locked into place, energy coursed through the complete armor. Knowledge, power, and history flowed into Jack's mind. He saw everything: the rise of human civilization, the formation of the First Galactic Alliance, the war that nearly destroyed everything, and the desperate compromise that followed. He understood both sides, the fear and the pride that had led to disaster. The hologram waited. "What will you do now, armor-bearer? You have the power to force the truth on the galaxy." Jack looked at his friends, then at Drakor, who represented the other side of this ancient conflict. Finally, he made his choice. "I won't force anything," he said. "The armor isn't a weapon, it's a bridge." He extended his hand to Drakor. "Let's rewrite history together, not with conquest, but with truth and reconciliation." The hologram nodded, seeming pleased. Then the cycle can finally end. The archive is now open to all species. The future is yours to shape. As they left the dome, they found council ships landing outside. But instead of soldiers, diplomats emerge, representatives from every major species, drawn by the news that was spreading across the galaxy. A new chapter in galactic history had begun, sparked by a human who dared to wear the armor no alien could handle. The old mines of Veros Prime were dark and winding. Jack led the way, his armor glowing softly and lighting their path. Susan, Lisa, and Drakor followed closely behind. These tunnels are ancient, Drakor explained. They existed long before the current mining operation. Some believe the world shapers themselves created them. Jack nodded. The armor confirms that. This entire planet was once a military outpost. As they descended deeper, the rough mine walls gave way to smooth engineered tunnels with the same shifting patterns as the armor. "We're getting close," Jack said. "I can feel the gauntlets calling to the other pieces." They reached a large chamber with a high ceiling. In the center stood a pillar of the same strange metal as the armor. 2 gauntlets rested on top, waiting. "Be careful," Susan warned. "There might be security measures." Jack approached slowly. "The armor says only someone wearing the chest plate and helmet can safely take the gauntlets." He reached out. The moment his fingers touched the gauntlets, they sprang to life, glowing with the same energy as his other pieces. They flowed onto his hands, connecting seamlessly with the chest plate. Power surged through Jack. He gasped as new abilities awakened. He raised his hand, and energy gathered at his fingertips. "Incredible," Lisa whispered. Suddenly, the chamber shook. Dust fell from the ceiling. "What's happening?" Susan asked, drawing her weapon. Drakor checked his scanner. "Council ships have entered orbit. They found us." Another explosion rocked the chamber. The exit tunnel began to collapse. "We're trapped," Lisa cried. Jack looked at his gauntlets. Knowledge flowed from the armor to his mind. He stepped forward and raised both hands. Energy shot from his palms, creating a barrier that held back the falling rocks. "This way," he said, pushing the debris aside to clear a path. "The armor is showing me another exit." They followed Jack through narrow passages until they emerged in a different section of the mine. They could hear fighting above. "The horizon is under attack," Jack said, somehow knowing this through his connection with the ship. They hurried to the surface. Outside, chaos reigned. Council forces had landed and were battling the local miners, who were caught in the crossfire. "We need to get back to the ship," Susan said. "Wait." Jack stopped, looking at a group of civilians hiding from the firefight. "These people will be punished for helping us, even though they did nothing wrong." He stepped into the open, armor glowing brightly. The council forces turned their weapons toward him. Jack raised his gauntleted hands, and a wave of energy expanded outward. Every weapon in the area instantly powered down. "What did you do?" Lisa asked in amazement. "Energy manipulation," Jack explained. "The gauntlets can control technological systems." A council commander approached, fury on his face. "You are all under arrest for stealing restricted technology." Drakor stepped forward. "This technology was never yours to restrict, Commander. It belongs to its rightful heirs." "The human is dangerous," the commander insisted. "Look what he just did to our weapons." "I disabled them without harming anyone," Jack said. "Unlike you, who fired into a crowd of innocent people." Susan activated her communicator. "Ben, can you get a lock on us?" "Yes, Captain," came the reply. "But there's something else you should know. Word of what's happening has spread. We're receiving messages from human ships across the sector. They're coming to help us." The commander's face paled. "You're causing a diplomatic crisis." Jack's voice was firm. "No, you created this crisis by hiding the truth." He turned to Drakor. "You said truth matters. Will you help us share it with everyone?" Drakor nodded slowly. The council kept secrets to maintain power, But history belongs to all species. He faced the commander. I'm officially requesting access to the World Shaper archives on behalf of the Scientific Truth Commission. The commander laughed. There are no such archives. Jack raised his gauntleted hand, and a holographic star map appeared above it. Yes, there are. And the armor knows exactly where. He pointed to a specific location, a planet the Council claims is dead. But it's not dead, it's hidden. Susan smiled. And that's where we'll find the next piece. Jack nodded. Not just a piece, the central archive of the World Shapers, the complete history of the galaxy. The horizon shook as it pushed through the Council blockade. Emergency alarms blared throughout the ship as Susan gripped her captain's chair. Shields down to 30%, Ben reported. Keep going, Susan ordered. We just need to reach jump distance. Jack stood beside her, both armor pieces glowing brightly. He placed his hand on a console, and suddenly the ship's power readings spiked. What did you do? Lisa asked, eyes wide. The armor is boosting our systems, Jack explained. It's connecting to the ship. The horizon surged forward, faster than it had ever moved. The Council ships fell behind, unable to match their sudden speed. Jump coordinates locked, Ben announced. Engaging now. Space bent around them as the horizon escaped into faster-than-light travel. Everyone breathed a sigh of relief, but they knew they weren't safe yet. We've bought ourselves some time, Susan said. Where are the gauntlets? Jack closed his eyes, consulting the armor's knowledge. A mining colony on Veros Prime. It's in the outer territories. Less Council presence. Good. We'll need allies soon, Susan said. Once word gets out about what we've discovered, the Council will declare us outlaws. Zextral looked uncomfortable. Captain, I need to tell you something. The Council has a scientist named Drakor who has spent his life studying World Shaper technology. He's actually been helpful to many species, including humans. He might listen to us. Susan considered this. Can you contact him without alerting the Council? I can try, Zextral said. While Zextral worked on contacting Drakor, Jack and Lisa studied the data from the armor pieces. The more time Jack spent wearing them, the more information he could access. Look at this, Lisa said, pointing to her screen. The armor's molecular structure is changing, becoming more integrated with your biology. Jack nodded. I can feel it. It's like it's waking up after a long sleep. 2 days later, the horizon reached Veros Prime. The mining colony was carved into the side of a mountain, a bustling place filled with beings from dozens of species. The gauntlets are in the old mine tunnels, Jack said as they walked through the crowded market. According to the armor, they were hidden here thousands of years ago. A message came through from the ship. Captain. Ben's voice sounded urgent. Zextral got through to Drakor. He's actually here on Veros Prime and wants to meet. Susan exchanged looks with Jack. Could be a trap. The armor doesn't sense danger, Jack said. It might be worth hearing him out. They met Drakor in a quiet corner of the market. He was a Telvari, with smooth gray skin and large, intelligent eyes. He looked at Jack's armor with wonder rather than fear. So it's true, Drakor said. A human has awakened the World Shaper technology. Jack nodded. You know what it really is. I suspected, Drakor admitted. My research pointed to a connection between human DNA and World Shaper artifacts. The Council dismissed my findings. Why are you helping us? Susan asked directly. Drakor sighed. Because truth matters. The oldest races have kept secrets too long. I believe the World Shapers were guardians, not conquerors. They were human, Jack said simply. Drakor nodded. I know. And that's why the Council fears this discovery so much. It would change the galaxy's power balance. Will you help us find the gauntlets? Lisa asked. Yes, but we must hurry. Council forces will arrive soon. Drakor pulled out a map. I studied the old mine tunnels. The gauntlets are likely here, in the deepest chamber. As they prepared to enter the mines, Susan received an urgent message from the horizon. "Captain, we're picking up transmissions," Ben reported. "The Council has branded us thieves and criminals. They're telling everyone we stole dangerous weapons technology. They're trying to turn the galaxy against us," Susan realized. Jack looked at the armor pieces he wore. "Then we need to show the galaxy the truth. All of it." Drakor nodded in agreement. "Finding the complete armor is now more important than ever. It contains the true history of the galaxy, a history many would rather stay buried." Laser fire cut through the water around them as the mercenaries advanced. Jack, now wearing both the chest plate and helmet, felt strangely calm despite the danger. "Stay behind me," he told the others. Then he did something that surprised even himself. He stepped forward to face the attackers. The armor seemed to know what to do even if Jack didn't. It created a bubble of energy that deflected the incoming shots. The mercenaries paused, shocked by this display of power. "We need to get back to the surface," Susan said, firing her weapon from behind Jack's shield. "This way," Jack pointed to a side passage. "There's a faster route up." As they swam through the ancient corridors, Jack felt the armor feeding him information. Images flashed through his mind. Stars, planets, and faces of beings who looked remarkably human. They reached their shuttle without further attacks. Once inside and rising toward the surface, Lisa examined Jack's helmet with fascination. "The two pieces are working together," she observed, "sharing power and information." Jack nodded. "And I'm starting to understand why the Council wants this so badly." He took a deep breath. The World Shapers weren't just some ancient alien race. They were humans. Everyone stared at him in stunned silence. "Impossible," Zex Troll finally said. "Humans have only been spacefaring for a few centuries." "These weren't modern humans," Jack explained. "They were our ancestors from millions of years ago. They evolved, developed incredible technology, and spread throughout the galaxy." Susan leaned forward. "If that's true, why isn't it in any history records?" "Because the record was erased," Jack said simply. "The armor is showing me memories. There was a war. Other species feared human advancement and joined forces against the World Shapers. When they couldn't defeat the armor technology, they tried a different approach." "What approach?" Lisa asked. "They attacked Earth directly," Jack said. "Bombed it back to the Stone Age. Then they rewrote history, making it seem like humans were just beginning to evolve, not recovering from a fall." The shuttle docked with the horizon, and they hurried to the bridge. The Council ships were moving to intercept them. "Main engines at full power," Susan ordered. "Set course for the next armor piece." "Captain," Zextral said quietly, "the Council must know about this human connection. That's why they've hidden World Shaper artifacts for so long." Jack removed his helmet but kept the chest plate on. "The armor tells me there was a compromise after the war. The humans who survived agreed to let their history be erased and start over on Earth in exchange for peace. The armor was split into 7 pieces and hidden across the galaxy, with genetic locks that would only respond to human DNA, once humans evolved enough to find them again." "How can we verify any of this?" Susan asked. Before Jack could answer, the lad called. "Captain, we've been analyzing the data from Jack's armor. There's definitely human DNA encoded in its structure. It's ancient, but it's human." Susan looked troubled. "The Council lied to everyone about human history." "Not just the Council," Zextral admitted. "All the elder races. Our most ancient records call the World Shapers the threat that must never rise again." Jack touched the chest plate. "They weren't a threat. They were guardians. The armor was created to protect life, not destroy it." "Captain," Officer Ben called out. 3 more Council ships just arrived. We're surrounded." Susan looked at Jack. "What do we do now?" "We need the next piece," Jack said firmly. "The gauntlets. With them, I might be able to access the armor's defensive systems." And if we're captured? Lisa asked. Jack's expression grew determined. Then the truth about humanity dies again. And this time, they'll make sure we never rediscover it. Susan nodded, making her decision. Prepare for emergency jump. We're not giving up our history without a fight. The horizon dropped out of faster-than-light travel near the Mendera system. The main planet was almost entirely covered in water, with only a few small islands dotting its surface. Sensors show 3 ships already in orbit. Officer Ben reported from his station. 2 Council research vessels, and a private ship. Susan frowned. Someone else is looking for the armor. Jack stood on the bridge, the chest plate gleaming under the lights. Since leaving Navar space, he had spent hours connecting with the armor, learning its secrets. The helmet is down there, he said with certainty. Deep underwater, in an old structure. Susan looked at him thoughtfully. Can you pinpoint the location? Jack nodded and walked to the navigation console. He placed his hand on the screen, and the armor pulsed. A map of the ocean floor appeared, with a bright point marking the deep trench. Impressive, Susan said. Ben, prepare a shuttle with diving equipment. The council ships are hailing us, said Communications Officer Amy Kent. Ignore them, Susan replied. Jack, Lisa, Zextral, you're with me. We need to get that helmet before they figure out what we're doing. In the shuttle bay, the team prepared for the underwater mission. Jack helped Lisa adjust her diving suit, while Susan checked the equipment. The private ship has launched a smaller vessel. Ben's voice came through the comms. They're heading for the same coordinates. Mercenaries, Sextral guessed, probably hired to find artifacts. Susan quickened her pace. Let's move, people. The shuttle launched from the horizon and dove through Mendera's atmosphere. Below them, the endless blue ocean stretched in all directions. Jack guided them to a small rocky island near the coordinates. We can use this as our base, he suggested. The underwater structure is about half a mile from here. They landed on the island just as another shuttle touched down nearby. 5 figures emerged, wearing combat gear and carrying weapons. I was right, Zextrol whispered. Mercenaries. They're not council, Susan said, watching the group prepare diving equipment. But they're after the same thing we are. Jack felt the armor warm against his skin. We need to get to the helmet first. The team quickly donned their diving gear and entered the water. Jack led the way, following the armor's guidance. The ocean grew darker as they descended, and they switched on powerful lights. After 20 minutes of swimming, they reached an enormous structure rising from the ocean floor. Ancient columns and walls, covered in sea life, formed a temple-like building the size of a small city. Amazing, Lisa's voice came through the comm. How old is this place? The armor says at least 50,000 years, Jack replied. The world shapers built it as a testing ground. They swam toward a large entrance. Behind them, lights appeared in the distance. The mercenaries were following. Inside the structure, they found air pockets and were able to remove their breathing masks in some areas. Jack moved confidently through the corridors, following the chest plate's directions. The helmet chamber should be ahead, he said, pointing to a massive door covered in the same shifting patterns as the armor. When Jack approached, the door hummed to life, patterns glowing bright. It slid open smoothly despite its age and the ocean pressure. Inside was a circular room with a pedestal at its center. On it rested a helmet made of the same strange metal as the chest plate. There it is, Lisa whispered in awe. Jack walked forward, drawn to the helmet. As he reached for it, the chest plate began to pulse rapidly, almost eagerly. Jack, wait, Susan cautioned. Could be traps. It's okay, Jack said, certain. It recognizes me. He lifted the helmet from its resting place. Immediately, it began to glow, matching the rhythm of the chest plate. When Jack put it on his head, the 2 pieces merged perfectly, energy flowing between them. Suddenly, Jack could breathe easily, despite being underwater. He could see clearly without lights and hear conversations through the water. It works, he exclaimed. The helmet enhances senses and provides life support. Before anyone could respond, a blast shook the chamber. The mercenaries had arrived and were firing weapons at them. Time to go, Susan ordered, raising her own weapon. Jack nodded, but as he turned to leave, the combined armor pieces showed him something new. More memories, more knowledge. Wait, he said. Now I understand. Humans, we have a connection to the world shapers. That's why only we can use the armor. Captain Susan Brooks stood tall as the holographic figure of council representative. Cree Van appeared in the meeting room. Cree Van belonged to the Azrathi species, tall and thin with green-tinged skin and eyes that blinked sideways. Captain Brooks, Cree Van said, his voice formal but cold. The council has received reports of a world shaper artifact aboard your vessel. Susan kept her face calm. We did recover an interesting piece of technology from the Navar ruins. We're studying it now. That interesting piece must be surrendered to council custody immediately. Cree Van's tone left no room for argument. Such artifacts are under council jurisdiction by Galactic Treaty Section 47. Susan crossed her arms. My understanding is that Earth signed the treaty with a research exemption clause. For standard artifacts, Cree Van snapped. World Shaper technology is Class 1 restricted. The Council has been collecting and safeguarding such items for millennia. Safeguarding or hoarding? Susan asked quietly. Cree Van's eyes narrowed. The artifact will be collected when we reach your position in 3 days. Prepare it for transfer. The hologram disappeared before Susan could respond. Meanwhile, Jack and Lisa worked in the lab. Jack still wore the chest plate, which now seemed almost a part of him. Lisa had connected a series of cables to the armor, reading its energy patterns. I'm finding encrypted data streams, Lisa said, excitement in her voice. It looks like coordinates. Let me see. Jack placed his hand on the console. Instantly, the armor pulsed, and the jumbled data on the screen reorganized into a star map. That's incredible. Lisa stared at the display. How did you do that? I didn't, Jack said. The armor did. He studied the map. These are locations of the other armor pieces. The door opened, and Susan entered, her expression troubled. She quickly explained the council's demands. They want to take the armor. Jack felt a surge of protectiveness. Why? Cree Van didn't say, but I don't trust his motives. Susan looked at the star map. What's this? Lisa pointed to the glowing points, locations of the other armor pieces, according to Jack. Susan studied the map with growing interest. How far to the nearest one? Lisa checked the coordinates. The Mendera system, about 2 days at full speed. 1 day before the council arrives, Susan noted. She was quiet for a moment, weighing her options. Jack, what does the armor tell you about the council's interest? Jack closed his eyes, focusing on the quiet presence in his mind. It's cautious. The council has collected many world shaper artifacts, but has never activated any. They study them, try to copy the technology, but keep them locked away. Is the armor dangerous? Susan asked. Not by itself, Jack replied, somehow certain. But fully assembled, the complete set would be powerful beyond anything in the current galaxy. Zextrol entered the lab, carrying a datapad. I've been researching council records on world shaper technology. He noticed the star map and paused. You found the locations. Jack nodded. 7 pieces, 7 worlds. The council won't let you keep that information, Zextrol warned. Let alone pursue it. Susan looked at each of them, then made her decision. Then we won't tell them. She tapped her communicator. Bridge, set course for the Mendera system, maximum speed. Captain, Zextrol said carefully, that would violate council orders. The council doesn't own humanity, Susan replied firmly. And I want to know why they're so interested in technology only humans can activate. There's something else, Jack said, drawing everyone's attention. The armor showed me a memory just now. The World Shapers created these 7 pieces as keys to maintaining peace in the galaxy. They were meant to be used together by chosen guardians. Guardians of what? Lisa asked. Jack looked up, his eyes reflecting the armor's inner light. Of truth, and the truth is being hidden from us. Susan nodded, her resolve strengthening. Then let's find it, before the council buries it forever. The next morning, Jack couldn't stop thinking about the armor. He hurried to the lab where Lisa had set up various scanning equipment around the chest plate. Did it do anything else overnight? Jack asked as he entered. Lisa shook her head. Nothing. It went dark shortly after you left. She pointed to her monitor showing the night's recordings. But look at this energy reading. It spiked every time someone walked past, then dropped again, almost like it was searching. Captain Susan Brooks entered the lab, followed by Zextral. The tall Valerian's 4-fingered hands twitched nervously. What have you learned? Susan asked, keeping a careful distance from the armor. Not much yet, Lisa replied. The metal doesn't match anything in our database, and those patterns seem to change when we're not looking directly at them. Zextral moved closer, his large eyes fixed on the armor. My people found similar artifacts on 17. Jack Mason wiped sweat from his forehead as he carefully brushed dirt from the strange metal object. The alien sun beat down on the dig site, making the air shimmer with heat. Around him, the ruins of an ancient city spread across the valley floor, broken columns and crumbled walls, the only remains of a once great civilization. Lieutenant Mason, find anything interesting? The voice in his earpiece belonged to Captain Susan Brooks, waiting aboard the research vessel Horizon in orbit above. Maybe, Captain. I'm not sure yet. Jack's tools clicked against the metal as he worked. It's unlike anything I've seen before. The locals, a tall, thin species called the Nivar, watched from a respectful distance. Their skin was pale blue, and their 4 eyes blinked in different patterns as they whispered among themselves. One of them, an elder named Krill, approached Jack with slow, careful steps. You have found it, Krill said in the careful, measured English he had learned from the human visitors. The armor of the World Shapers. Jack looked up, squinting against the sun. Armor. This is armor. Krill nodded, his long neck bobbing. Many have sought it. None have worn it. It is very old, from before our histories began. Jack's heart beat faster as he continued to uncover the object. It wasn't just a random piece of metal. It was a chest plate, shaped to fit a torso that looked surprisingly human. The metal gleamed with an inner light, neither silver nor gold but something between, with strange patterns that seemed to shift when he wasn't looking directly at them. How old is this? Jack asked, carefully lifting the plate from its resting place. The oldest stories say the World Shapers walked the stars when our people still lived in caves, Krill replied. They shaped worlds and brought peace to the galaxy. Then they vanished. Many have tried to use their tools, but none could make them work. Jack examined the armor closely. Despite its age, thousands, maybe millions of years old by the sound of it, there wasn't a speck of rust or decay. He took pictures and scans with his equipment, sending the data back to the ship. Captain, I think we found something significant here. Request permission to bring it aboard for further study. There was a pause before Susan replied. The Galactic Council might have concerns about removing artifacts, Lieutenant. The Council has studied many such relics, Krill said, overhearing the conversation. They sit dead in their museums. Perhaps new eyes will see what old eyes cannot. Jack looked at the elder, surprised by his support. You don't mind if we take it. The armor chooses its bearer. It has waited patiently. If it wishes to leave with you, who are we to stop it? After some discussion, Susan agreed to let Jack bring the armor piece aboard. As he carefully packed it in a containment unit, Jack couldn't shake the feeling that the armor was somehow watching him. Back on the horizon, Science Officer Lisa Harris waited in the shuttle bay. Her eyes widened when Jack removed the chest plate from its container. It's beautiful, she said, leaning closer but not touching it. And you say no one's been able to activate it. According to the Nivar, dozens of species have tried over thousands of years. Jack set the armor on an examination table. They believe it belonged to an extinct species called the World Shapers. Lisa ran a scanner over the surface. These readings are off the charts. This metal isn't in our database. Jack reached out, running his fingers along the strange patterns. Without warning, the armor hummed to life. Lights traced along the grooves, and the metal warmed beneath his touch. Lisa jumped back. "What did you do?" "Nothing," Jack whispered, staring as the armor pulsed with energy. "I just touched it." The ship's alien science consultant, a tall Valerian named Zextrol, entered the lab and froze at the sight of the glowing armor. "Impossible," Zextrol said, his voice barely audible. "My people tried for centuries to activate such relics." The armor's glow intensified, responding to Jack's presence. When he moved his hand away, the light dimmed slightly. When he touched it again, it brightened. "It likes you," Lisa said with wonder in her voice. Jack looked at the armor, feeling the strange connection to the ancient technology. "I think," he said slowly, "it might be trying to tell me something."